All right, joining us today, the doctor is in, Dr. Joe. Thanks for being here, my friend. How are you
No
doing?
worries. I'm doing great. Good to see you, Sam.
Too,
Just
man. Thanks
chilling.
for being here. Awesome. I see you got your keys behind you. Are you in your studio right now?
Yeah, I got this little shed that used to be an art studio. So yeah, I can kind of soundproof this thing and lug this piano out here. So I got my little spot now, which is really been cool. So yeah.
Awesome. Very cool, man. So tell us, what have you been up to since this whole lockdown started? Kind of going back to mid-March.
Um,
What did you have planned for the spring and summer before everything was kind of shut down? And how have you been keeping yourself busy, healthy, if you're keeping yourself busy and healthy? But what have you
right.
been up to over these last 7 months?
Yeah, just damn, feeling like apocalypse is upon us. I have no clue. I mean, shit, just real stuff, right?
Yes, yes.
Had a decent South by setup, and wasn't trying to go too hard, but had some shows I was excited about. Had just had brought on some help with booking, so had like a summer of potential tour dates and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, that just kind of got thrown away in a pretty quick minute. Yeah,
Yeah,
blew up. So not much live stuff, but I really think it has some silver linings as well. With um, just kind of being able to focus on what's really important, and maybe pivoting in some areas, and just kind of having those moments to actually like work on songs, and do the stuff outside of rehearsing and promoting, and releasing and all that kind of stuff. So
for sure. And what has that meant to you personally, specifically? Because that is something that's resonated through a lot of these interviews or podcasts. The silver lining, the pivot word comes up a lot. What have you
right.
done? What have you been able to, open up that you wouldn't have otherwise done so?
Sorry, my alarm was going off for this call.
No
Uh,
worries.
yeah, I mean, I've written a ton of songs. I released a song in the end of August. I'm releasing a new song on Friday, which I'm excited about.
Mm,
Worked way too hard on assets surrounding my releases. Like, I think that's been something I've over focused on, is my release assets, like my stuff, around the song ends up being better than the song. uh like I literally made a graphic novel for this last song, and tried to do a video of like a kid playing video games and like piecing it into a movie. Like I've done like way too much assets for this stuff. But yeah, like just I guess reevaluating why I'm making music, you
mm,
know um and I really do think it's helped me to like steer away from songs that maybe would be more like planned for a bar scene or like a live situation, and be more for like what we're dealing with now, which is like crazy, life shifting, exponential super speed, of
right,
like
right.
futurism and stuff. Like so yeah, being by a piano, having my little man and my wife, has been really good. Yeah, just writing a lot of stuff.
Very cool. Well, I'll say from what I've seen on the outside, you are not overdoing it on the asset realm. I think this stuff you're putting out is very high quality, and people are responding to it in
Thank
kind.
you,
So
man. Wow,
I
thank
would
you.
not I would not say that about it. And I think not only from a personal perspective, and from what I see, the success that you are having, um, from a business perspective, it's right on the money too. I mean, one thing I personally read or see or hear about all the time is, you know, juice up your singles, juice up your releases
Sure.
as much as you possibly can. And so when you do that with quality stuff, it pays off. So I would not have any regrets about spending too much time on that stuff, because it's, as far as I can see, it's badass shit. So
Thank you, man. That's
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you a little bit more about your approach to releases in a little bit, but I'm very
I love
interested to
this.
know.
You're getting into the good. You're getting into the good stuff. That's good.
That's I'm about to break open the good stuff here because
Yeah.
one of the things I'm most interested in is people's kind of backstories and where they come from. More specifically, not just where you come from, location wise, but where you come from musically, what your history is learning. Something tells me you were playing piano at a very young age, but who also were your big influences at young age or teenage years or all that stuff. Always interested in that. So share that with us now.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I think I just realized that like today because I was thinking about like something that could potentially be asked. And yeah, my older brother, I don't know if I ever really realized this, but my older brother was into jazz guitar and like blues guitar. And he always was jamming like Stevie Ray Vaughan and the Smashing Pumpkins and tons of like really guitar heavy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, like not that that's my whole influence or anything. Like I'm really into gospel. That's kind of, I listen to like Jimmy Smith, like, jazz organ stuff growing up. And, my dad was really into like all the 70s stuff, so yeah, I just, that was like a new wrinkle. I don't think I realized that I was influenced by Stevie Ray, especially until literally like today. So I don't know.
Wow.
That's weird.
Timely. So
Yeah,
where are you
timely,
from? Where are you
exactly.
from originally?
So my dad was in the Air Force, so I was kind of a military brat for a while. Um, Grew up like born in Illinois, lived in Alaska, Missouri, Ohio, like pretty much all of the like straight up Midwest, Rust Belt, middle of America. Um, and yeah, just moved around a ton. Landed in Kansas when I was like in elementary school, and just grew up in the country where no one was playing any music. There was like no live music at all anywhere near me. So I just played piano in my basement all the time. I was one of 6 kids, so like it was loud. Everybody's like singing and screaming and running around, and so I would just like go be meditative, on the piano. And I remember my brother had like a Stairway to Heaven, charts and like Led Zeppelin, and so it was just
Yeah.
like on the piano, and I had always learned like Suzuki method, which is really by ear for piano, and so I couldn't really read very well. It was more like just listening and playing. But then I picked up the chart and was like, oh, gee, that means this, and then this sounds pretty close to what I hear on there. So like I learned how to do charts, pretty young age, and then like from that I was able to learn how to solo and stuff. And then I just started writing songs. I was like 10 or 11 or something, and just kind of started getting in
What
that.
was the age that you actually started playing?
Like 5.
Wow.
Yeah,
Cool. And so I have actually in a month, soon to be 5-year-old daughter. And
that's awesome.
we started her on piano for a few months, and then COVID hit and she hasn't had it in 7 months. Would you say that the Suzuki method was a great way for your early years of piano to,
I mean, I have no other reference, right?
reference?
No
Yeah.
other context. I think my teacher was great. I think Suzuki was great. I'm sure you're going to have so many options here in Austin for teachers that are good, and probably looking for work. So I would imagine you could Zoom it. It's, but yeah, it was really good for me. It taught me how to play. That's what my teacher, I just got on the phone with her actually the other day. She's like 78 years old. She's this amazing woman. She's a Black lady, and she like graduated in 1960 in Missouri. So like we had some interesting stuff to talk about because
And
she's
you're still
lived
in
through.
touch with her. That's unbelievable.
She's still in touch with us, man. She sends me
Wow.
Christmas cards, everything. And yeah, I just reached out to her just the other day because actually the song I have coming up on Friday is like rounding out our first, our debut EP. And it's all about like gratitude because I kind of shifted the aim of the recordings I've been doing with this whole thing. And so I've been like reaching out to people that I am grateful to. And especially people of color, like trying to get in touch with that a little bit, as like a white guy that grew up in the Midwest, what perspective do I have? So yeah, I reached out to her and had a great conversation. And she brought back so much memories of like she did all this like metaphorical stuff. Like she would give you a candle when you did something well. And like her whole song that she would sing was like brighten up the corner where you are, which is like, a metaphor for like going out to the world and like being a light wherever you are and stuff. And I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, yeah, man, it makes me emotional, dude. I mean, it's good. She really set me on a good path, I think. So.
And how you had her from age 5 to what? How long did you have her for?
I want to say we were in Missouri for like 3 years, so 8 years old. And then let's think. Then I moved to Kansas. I was lucky to have I had this like crazy ass PhD. He was like a college professor of like the little community college in town, and he was super serious. Like he would like give me shit all the time because I didn't rehearse or whatever. And I would show up, like he was trying to get me all concert ready. Like he wanted to do like serious classical.
Mm-hmm.
And I was learning Led Zeppelin, right? Or whatever, I was into free form. And so, yeah, that was odd going from like a gospel lady, who was teaching me soul and how to listen to like a guy that wanted to do classical. And so, but it was cool. He did a good job.
And does the gospel roots come directly from that early teacher you were talking about, or did you grow up in the church as well?
Yeah. Oh man, grew up like straight up fundamentalist, Christian, like Bible Belt stuff. My views have shifted towards science and things. But no offense to religion. I think it's a fantastic thing for people that need it and want it. So yeah, I grew up in the church. I grew up in a church that actually in Kansas, it was so like crazy fundamentalist. They wouldn't even let piano in the church. Like it was some sort of Bible rule. God hates pianos, apparently. So, my rebellion, I guess, is now playing piano. Who knows?
It's amazing how responsible the church is, both all different sides, for good, bad, middle, for the American music of the last 120 years. It's just amazing.
No doubt.
I mean, all the greats grew up in the church, from the 20th century, almost all of them, especially the
name any
century.
Style that isn't touched by traditional, gospel music in America. Like, it's rock and roll, it's blues, it's jazz, it's any American style is out of that.
Absolutely, man. It's crazy. And that's the whole world. I mean, the American music, whatever you want to call it, canon, is the world, is what the world has, adopted as its focus for the most part. Of course, there's little offshoots and whatever, but in popular music the last 120 years, you can almost completely bring it to the church.
Right.
The Christian church. It's crazy. And it's great to hear you kind of wrap your arms around that and have that as your identity. And I know you call it like, fuzz gospel, which is such a cool fucking description. And it's so accurate too. I mean, it's really, it's great when somebody can have an identity that's so simple, but so crystal clear, and it comes through sonically and, in every other way too. So kudos on that. I'm sure it was pretty natural, as things like that tend to be, but it's right on the button.
Yeah. So I wanted to call it gospel. Wait, what do we call it? Is it gospel fuzz or fuzz gospel?
I think I've seen you call it one or the other. Fuzz gospel
right.
Fuzz.
Because I remember just thinking I want the other one, but everybody else wanted the other one. So whatever. Yeah. Sorry.
It's all good. So at what age did you kind of start taking on a professional path or like a seriously performance based path? Whether was it kind of high school or not till after high school, college, or when was that?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't, like I said, there was no club. There was no live music venue opportunity anywhere near where I grew up. Like, I remember the moment when I saw live music, like what real live music is supposed to be, in a local level. Like I was so lucky. My dad took me and my older brother to like a Smashing Pumpkins show way back in the day. Drove us to Kansas City. It was like a 3-hour drive to go to this Pumpkins concert. And I don't even know how old I must have been. Maybe fifth or sixth grade, something like that. That was really cool. But then in high school, my friends, God, what was their band? Oh, I'm gonna be so mad if I don't remember it. But we played in like some barn or something. It was like literally in the middle of a field in Kansas, and like they played, some sort of, probably 311-ish thing happening, whatever it was. But like I just remember being like, these are my friends, and they are creating power, and they are like communing with something, and all of us are in on it, like and then I went to college and, played like dueling pianos to like pay for college. So
Where was that? Where did you go and do
I was
that?
in Lawrence, Kansas. Yeah. So KU, met, I was I joined like my buddy's pop band, and then from that I like really didn't love it, so started playing bars to make some money and pay for my pot and whatever I needed to do, and meet girls and all that stuff. So yeah, I started playing every other night at this club, and then I found out this other kid was playing the nights I wasn't, and he was also doing piano. And the club owner's like, why don't you guys get together and like see if it works for you to play together? And he's like still my best friend to this day, which is cool. He actually lives in Austin now, too. So he moved down here. His name's Ben Morgan. Shout out to that guy. You should meet that guy. You should interview him. He's really cool.
Sounds good.
Yeah, but so did dueling pianos. We were terrible at it. We didn't know fucking any songs. We knew like the choruses. We didn't know any lyrics. We didn't do any preparation. We would like smoke joints in the bar. It was totally not cool. Like we would just get wasted and play and get paid at the end of the night. So yeah, I think I cut my teeth there, And
did you move to Austin from Lawrence, or did you have a in between?
Yeah, I went to Omaha and I became a dentist.
Yeah. So there comes
that's
the
where doctor
Joe.
comes. Yeah.
I was gonna start the interview like, okay, where did you go to medical school? Where did the doctor come from? But I had a feeling it was some kind of honest way of coming about it, because it isn't it's super cool, but it's also kind of an ambitious thing to put as your stage moniker. But I had a feeling there was something. So it's
definitely like it's kind of a Dr. John move, like
totally. Oh yeah.
And and that's kind of what my original vibe with the band was to like do like bar room. Like I wanted it to just be a basement and like 25 people and a real piano, and people are just getting their minds blown kind of thing, where it's just like super positive energy. And I think that's evolved some. But yeah, I became a dentist because I was too scared to try to be a musician. That's just, when after reflection, that's what it is. I realized how much I hate being a dentist, even though like I really enjoyed some parts of it. I, pretty exclusively worked with like poor Mexican kids. Like I worked in Laredo for 2 years, really dug that clientele and that process and all that stuff. But, I was just being dishonest with myself, thinking that I could do that for any period longer. So, once I had enough money to save to like, try to do music, I just stopped. So
that's pretty badass, man. I mean, so you obviously went to dental school, and then how long did that whole dental school to stopping being
fucking nightmare, dude. 4 years.
Crazy, man.
And it cost like $300,000.
That's just the school part. And then how long did you actually practice for?
I've been practicing pretty much until like last year, like on and off.
That's amazing, man. And how many years was that in practice?
I don't know. I graduated in like 2011, so probably like 8 years of, doing music too. Like the whole time I moved to Dallas first and worked, and I joined a band that I was really into, and then moved to Austin like a couple years later, and I played with, a few bands, and then finally this was like my first project that I did like my own stuff.
And how long have you been in Austin for?
Let's see, since like 2012 or 2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I moved in 2011, so we're on a
Cool.
similar
Where'd you
timeline
Where'd
there.
you move from?
I moved from Chicago. I was in Chicago for 4 years. I'm from Wisconsin originally. I grew up in
Love it.
Milwaukee.
Love that
I grew.
accent, bro. It's so
It
good.
comes through still, huh?
Yeah.
Awesome.
We used to go, my dad's used to spend every summer up in Chautauqua, Wisconsin.
I don't even know where Chautauqua is.
Yeah.
I never even heard of that.
It's
Is that
tiny,
northern
man.
Wisconsin?
It's got to be somewhere crazy because it's
Hmm.
so like lake and like,
Yeah.
trees and that kind
Oh,
of
it's
stuff.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know. I thought I knew most of the, but there's so many of them. You can't.
Right.
But Chautauqua, I got to be honest, I hadn't heard of that one. But I'm sure
Dude,
you guys have
Chautauqua's
fun up there.
dope. Oh, man. Pike and walleye, and you just
Oh
can't beat
yeah,
it, man.
man.
It's good
Yeah, so I
stuff.
grew up in Milwaukee, and then I went to Wisconsin. So a similar vibe, I'm sure, to
Madison,
Kansas. Yeah, University of
that's
Wisconsin in
that's a great
Madison.
city.
So I certainly had my fun there for 5 years, and then I moved to Chicago, actually with my band at the time,
Cool.
and spent 4 years there, and then I moved to Austin in 2011. But yeah, that's wild, man. I mean, it's fantastic that you were able to not only go through with it, whether it's time wasted or not. The
It's a good backup
pure,
plan.
yeah, man. I mean, the pureness of the change, completely stopping it. The pureness of that move, and the realization and the trueness to yourself, and not to mention the work ethic and all the work you put into that, and how well that will translate you. And that shows, man. I mean, it shows in what you put out. It's like,
Thank you so
it makes
much. That's
perfect sense to me that you have that kind of background, because I can get more into your style in a little bit, but it's all kind of coming together now. You know what
I
I
don't
mean?
understand myself. That's amazing. You do. That's great.
I don't understand it, but it's starting to make a little bit more sense than it did.
That's cool. I feel so random. Like, I don't know.
And I'm assuming you found Austin to be a very welcoming place when you moved.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's definitely colored my experience. It's changed me. It's the best place in America, no doubt. Like, I'm 100% convinced of that.
Did you meet your wife down here, or did you move from Dallas with her, or you met her down here?
Yeah, she was a buddy. Actually, that buddy that I mentioned, Ben, he
Hmm.
knew her cousin, and she came to a house party because me and Ben were living together, and she moved here from actually Kalamazoo, so she's a Michigander. Um, and yeah, just we bonded over like talking about graphic novels, and she's like way hotter than me, so worked out.
Very nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
we played a show in Kalamazoo. I think it was 2 summers ago, and I
cool.
actually had somebody, I don't know, at the hotel we were at in Kalamazoo. Somebody backed into my bumper and dented
Oh,
it, but
bummer.
luckily they had it on camera. We busted
Nice.
the guy, and so it all
Good.
got
Was it
sorted
like
out.
cheaters?
What's that?
Was it like cheaters? You're like coming with the camera crew and like confronted him.
No,
You know
no.
what
What happened
cheaters
was
is?
the cam. Like I came out in the morning. I was like, "What the fuck? What the fuck
Yeah.
happened to my car?" And somebody came out and was like, "Yeah, don't worry, we got it all on tape."
Wow.
Blah blah blah. And then we called the
That's great.
cops, so it got sorted
Okay.
out.
So
But
there's no
that was my.
confrontation scene.
No, I didn't have to. I didn't have to do anything. It was all kind of handled for me. Um,
That's good.
but so before I forget, because we were talking about your roots and everything, I'm just kind of curious, because I do love your sound so much. Who would you say are your biggest influences, both on piano / organ and vocally as well?
Shit, I don't know.
Or three or
I
four
mean, Ray
favorites,
Ray Charles, huge. Elton John, huge. Like Elton is my heart, man. Ray as well. Gosh, Billy Joel's amazing. Leon Russell. You know, I could just go on and on. David Bowie, Freddie Mercury, you know, just anybody who's become the thing they were supposed to become. Like, I
Mm,
am so enthralled with that. And like, you know, that fact that they actually did it in their lifetime, like that's so rare and beautiful. It's like, you know,
mhm.
something I just want to achieve. And, you know, I'm coming around to the idea of like being content without it, but like, I don't know. I want to write like fucking classics, you know, like legacy shit, you know? And I
Mm.
think that's what they did, you know?
You're damn right. I mean, it sounds like you're enthralled much in the same way I am with pretty much the baddest motherfuckers. And I'm
Right.
always, you know, I hear a lot of people, you know, everyone's got their own ear, everyone's subjective in their own way and got their own taste. And you know, I have, like, it seems like you do too. I've got a plethora of heroes. You know, I've got tons of
Right.
heroes, and there's certain tiers and whatever. But I'm definitely most enthralled with just the baddest of the bad. You know what I mean? The ones who,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Ray Charles. I think Ray Charles gets overlooked in this day and age a little bit. You know, he's a lot of people probably do, but the influence that guy had and the skills that guy brought were just tight. He was a freaking titan, an absolute
Totally.
monster.
Mm-hmm.
Monster. But yeah, obviously Freddie Mercury is a monster among monsters, and Elton John is a
Stevie Wonder,
monster.
you
Stevie
know,
Wonder is
Stevie
a
Wonder.
monster.
God.
Yeah. So coming to your kind of current stuff. So something interesting about what you just said in terms of wanting to create legacy songs, and you've chosen to really kind of, and I've kind of gotten just into the single game probably over the last 12, 18 months. And your method, maybe it's because you've kind of started the Dr. Joe brand semi recently, but you know, you release one song that's just super tasteful and super well produced and super uh gosh, you know, it's got such sensibility, so much different kinds of sensibility, not just the gospel, but it's got real pop sensibility, you know. And I don't mean
Mm-hmm.
bubblegum pop, but I mean crafted in a such a radio friendly way. Have you, you know, the way you've gone about crafting this early work, I think you've got only about 4 releases or 5 releases on,
Yeah.
you know, Spotify, right?
Fifth is Friday. Yeah.
Fifth is, how exciting. But you really take your time with this stuff, and I really appreciate that. Is that, you know, if you had kind of no choice but to do it that way, or was that kind of a preconceived approach?
Mm-hmm. I think I've taken way too long, for sure. I'm so impatient. Like, but I've also, you know, I recorded like a whole record, you know, and it wasn't good enough. And then I wrote maybe 2 records of songs, and they weren't good enough. I think I struggle with
Wow.
perfectionism for sure.
Mm,
You know, and that's something I'm trying to get past. You know, I hope I can maintain the level of quality that I've put out, and I hope that Friday is that level of quality. But I definitely have goals to release more often. Um, it has definitely been a deliberate thing to release single by single, you know, especially with just, you know, I was lucky to have a manager like reach out to me and want to work with me. So, you know, my manager has really been helpful in that. Like, I think he's helped guide that, because I would have released like way more stuff, you know, probably. And I just think he's given me that perspective. And on it, you know, I've seen the fact that it's, yeah, I just don't think you can release stuff that you know, you look at the best people, they don't release misses. They don't miss, you know,
well, I kind of agree with that, but I think everyone does, to be honest. I think
for sure.
everyone misses. I mean,
Hmm.
who just to kind of flesh out what you're talking about, who would you give examples of people that don't miss?
Honestly, most of the reason I'm saying that is because I was just hanging out with Abby the Nomad, and he's like,
Mm,
he said that, and so I'm repeating him. That's like the
okay.
truth. Like, because he produces a lot of my stuff, and we
Yeah.
were talking about the next stuff, and you know, I had
Hmm.
like these 8 songs. My manager's like, 3 of them are good, you know. And I was like bitching to Abby about that. I was like, fuck, man, I'm working my ass off on these songs, and you know, he doesn't think they're good enough. And he's like, yeah, man, you know, the best don't miss. And So maybe I don't have a good example, but
That's interesting
yeah,
take. I don't, I guess that
he's
depends the way you
probably.
look
I hope
at it.
he's wrong.
Yeah, I would honestly come in on the complete other angle that I would say the best miss as well. And
Yeah,
I think I've even heard plenty of quotes from like Paul McCartney about how you just make stinkers sometimes.
right.
And he's what bigger beast is there than Paul McCartney? And then if you see that song he released, I think it was called Freedom after 9/11, and there's a perfect example of just a total stinker from a king. You know what I mean?
I
So
love Paul, but it's tough, man.
yeah, I mean,
He's from a different era, and you can hear what he's up to in the studio, right? You can kind of hear it's like he got some studio guys in, and I don't know if it's that he doesn't have the time and input, like the time to flesh it out more. I don't know. Something, I would agree. I just think something's a little bit not working, you know?
well, I was just doing specifically that post 9/11 song he released, which
I don't
I
know if
haven't
I
heard
know it.
actually a lot of his most more recent stuff, although I've heard it's pretty good. But I can't actually comment. But I just distinctly remember he released. I think it was the song was called Freedom, and it
Oh,
was right after 9/11, and it
wasn't
was a
great.
stink. It was a stinker. I mean, it was crap. It was like, whoa, Paul, what are we doing here, buddy? But I mean, I love the guy.
I got to hear it.
Uh,
Maybe I'll love
but
it.
I
Who
think
knows?
yeah, it's tricky when you get older, man. I think one guy that I've looked to as like the gold standard of getting older with the highest quality is like Tom Waits. He's
Oh,
one
man.
guy that for
Totally.
me is like, I mean, the last 10 years, the stuff he's released is it's just some of the, and and he's also one of those guys where he put out so much prolifically over the years where, you go back to some of the stuff in the 80s, like, or Frank's Wild Years, whatever. And I hadn't heard that album until a couple of years ago, and my bass player put it on the road, and I was just fucking floored, man. And I
Mm-hmm.
had already loved Tom Waits. And then I
He's a
was like,
genius.
man, but yeah, he has aged. He just, a lot of other people though, it's tough, man. When you get older, I think there's 100 different reasons why the quality kind of, as you get
Yeah.
older, it's
I think
trickier.
Tom specifically, though, like, he's just one of those guys that lives and breathes like excellent creation. He just
Yeah,
is always doing it. Him going
yeah,
to work is going into the studio. Like, he does it
yeah.
all the time. There was some quote, I can't remember what it was, just talking about how he's writing constantly, like, but he always says the best ones come when he's like waiting in traffic or something.
Mm-hmm.
But let me show you this painting real quick. My dad picked it up in Denver, and it's actually Tom
Oh,
Waits. And what's really
speaking of the
crazy
devil.
is that is the exact piano that I bring around live. That's what's really nuts about it. It's like short, it's 64 notes. So it's like
Wow.
pretty much the exact one. So it's this really weird coincidence.
I'm so happy our conversation moved in that direction. That
Yeah,
actually, that's crazy, man. That's awesome.
it's
Um,
weird.
what was I gonna? What was I gonna ask you? Oh, you also mentioned, you're talking about kind of the perfectionism thing, and that's a
Mm-hmm.
tricky bugger too, isn't it? I mean,
No doubt.
one thing I think it's really tricky. I mean, especially in this day and age with the content day and age, it's something that I think a lot of us kind of push back against and reject. And I've certainly done that. And it wasn't only until recently, like pretty much the COVID lockdown, where I kind of, to use the common term, pivoted, because I was like, all right, as much as I dislike social media and content, I'm going to, if I can't beat them, I'm going to join them. It's like, I've got the time. I'm someone who needs to be active creatively. So I've really spent a lot of this time kind of focusing on producing the best content I can, but also kind of getting over that perfectionism mentality. And, a lot of the gurus that they, especially in this day and age, they're like, get over it, man.
Yep.
It's let the listeners decide what they like. Put your heart and soul into it, and then get it out there, because people's attention spans, yada yada yada, the day and
Yep.
age, and even back in the day, man. I mean, if you look at, it's crazy how much in the 60s those people were putting out. It's
No
crazy
doubt.
that Hendrix was putting out those two albums, the two great albums, 3 albums in a year and a half, and the Beatles were
Yep.
putting out 2, 3 albums in a year and a half, and the Stones, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a different. there was different juju going around in that day
No
and
doubt.
age for sure.
And if
Just
you were
the
a winner
creativity
though,
was bouncing.
and if
Go
you
ahead.
had proven yourself like to the labels at that point, like they made sure that was your job, that was your sole focus. There was pressure, like in those
Oh yeah,
studios to make gold. There was it was a vibe. So I think now it's a lot more. It has to be more self-driven. It just is, because we're all kind of
totally.
our own bosses, just trying to push to get things done without a ton of external thrust, from labels and all the money that they actually made selling records and stuff. So I think things have changed a lot in that regard too. But I 100% agree that I
Yeah,
I
and
need
then
to release more.
that work mentality you were just talking about with Tom Waits. I mean, that was the name of the game in the
Yep.
'60s. I mean, it was like 14 hours in the studio every day for a
Right.
lot, obviously with Motown or Stax, that was the total name of the game. But
Yep.
yeah, everything you said about the competitiveness and that work ethic from the middle of the century. And then of course the industry became such a opulent, kind of bloated, still amazing music in the '70s and the '80s and the '90s, but it became such this glory kind of royalty. It was like musicians were like royalty instead of like a working class.
Hmm.
Even though people like Springsteen and Metallica were definitely a working class vibe and working their ass off. But anyway,
Right.
kind of rambling on that. But
Oh,
yeah, I'm
good.
not telling you how to do your business with your things, because I think you're hitting home runs every time you step up to the plate. But I was just
Fuck.
sharing some of the shit I've been hearing. You know what I mean? So, and trying
Sure.
to that whole perfectionism vibe. So I want to talk to you a little bit about. Obviously, you just a little while ago, 15 minutes ago, made some pretty glowing uh, assessment of Austin, and I would share a lot of that. Has your whole experience in Austin been, roses and candy, or have you had some things about Austin that over the years have challenged you, troubled you, had
I
you
mean,
looking at different parts of the country?
here's something that really annoys me. I played out tons, right? I played out. I feel like I know a lot of people play out more than me, but I feel like I played out for like, formed the band in 2016, really got going with like live shows in 2017. Didn't end up releasing anything till like 2019. Um, but I played a lot, have played a lot, and it's crazy. I look on Spotify. Austin's like my 20th or 30th city with
Wow.
listeners,
Hmm.
like it's Chicago, Dallas, Austin, New York, that kind of thing. And I don't, or not Austin, Chicago, Dallas, Atlanta. So Austin's like way down there. And so I
Hmm.
don't know how I didn't get more, don't have more listeners from Austin, honestly. Cause I feel like I've played out a bunch. I've gotten, to be involved with like Black Fret and stuff. That's a good local, promotion thing. So yeah, I don't
Right.
know. I don't know if I've made the Austin tastemakers happy. Like the Spotify people like us okay. They put us on playlists and stuff, but I don't think I've like I don't know if the Austin tastemakers like us or not. You know.
Yeah. I'm very fascinated by the whole Austin tastemakers idea, which I can
Right.
get into in a sec. But yeah, the Spotify thing, your numbers are really good on Spotify. I mean, those are super strong, especially for the amount of material you've released. It's pretty fantastic, actually. But I think there's just a very much a randomness to that whole thing. It's
Right.
where is music for whatever reason. I don't know why my numbers are not nearly as good as yours, but Austin is my number one, and
Huh.
by like number two, three, and four, or two, three, and five, or something like that, are like Madrid, Sao Paulo,
Yeah.
and Mexico City. So
Right.
I don't know why that is. So I think it's but also there's such a surplus over. There's such an over. What's the word I'm looking for? There's just so many
Oversupply.
options. Yeah, oversupply of musicians in Austin.
Right.
So it's hard. It's that classic South by situation of a street full of things going on. How are you
Right.
supposed to stand out amongst so much quality and quantity that's not quality? It's It's pretty random, I
And I
think.
definitely think that's a mistake that musicians make too, is by focusing so hard on like being cool in Austin. Like
Mhm.
Austin's an amazing place to live, an amazing place to create, but like being cool in Austin does not make your career, which is, so you look at the people that really have done something, made it outside of Austin or whatever, like Austin thinks you're cool once you've already made it outside, I feel like, you know,
Yep.
like
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's just the truth.
No doubt. And the tastemaker thing is so interesting because it's like, I don't know. I don't even know where to begin with it. I think about it a lot and I've
I
talked
don't
about it on
either.
this podcast, but it's really just a bunch of individuals, you know what I mean? And it's like
Sure.
most of them are so over uh what's the word I'm looking for? Inundated with
Sure.
stuff that their own process must be so random as well. You know what I mean? They're
No
hearing
doubt.
so much stuff. It's like, yeah, this is good. I like this. I have to listen to this now, and now I have to listen to this. I have to, what do I pick here? What do I pick? You know what I mean?
Totally.
And then what happens is like they pick something, or something does stand out for the right reasons. It seems like the cream does rise to the crop. Cream does rise to the top in a lot of situations, not
Sure.
all situations. But then it's like people just jump on board. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like people who are maybe don't really have the ear, but are somehow in a position to be a tastemaker. They just kind of piggyback on stuff. You know what I mean?
Yep. And yeah. I love the saying that like critics, I mean, they might like writing and stuff, but like a lot of them wanted to play music,
Of
you
course.
know?
Of course. Yeah, no doubt about it. We don't need to get into all that.
Yeah, it's all
But
good. No
yeah, it's all
hate.
good, man. Everyone's got their role to play.
That's
But
true.
so what do you have? I didn't know you have a single coming out Friday. I'm very
Yeah.
excited to hear
I
that.
haven't told
That's always
anybody.
cool.
Yeah.
It's wild that you don't. That's another unique thing that you do is that you kind of just plop the single out. You know what I mean? And most people I know, including myself, there's
Tons of people do the
you
pre-save push and all that
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stuff. And yeah,
All kinds of stuff and drop the art and drop but you
right.
kind of just put it
I
out.
have done
That's
that
super
though.
cool.
Like with Believer, I dressed as Jesus, pissed
I
off
saw that.
tons
Yeah.
of people. I think Apple didn't even put our video on their platform, like because it's so blasphemous. Let's see. But yeah, I like released way too many photos of like sections of me and like being, Jesus or
Yeah,
something.
I
It
saw
was
that. Yeah.
so I
You
did
did
do
get
that
you
once.
got some backlash for that.
Yeah. And I think it like
Yeah.
shadow banned me or something. Who knows what happened, but
Oh no. Well, it's
it's
funny how
funny
much you had the look going too. That's what was so funny about it because
for
you,
sure.
you you definitely had that classic Jesus look going for it.
No, I
So
looked a lot like Jesus, man. I felt religious. It was great. Um,
oh
but
man.
that's been really fun too, though, like is with each song kind of just taking a whole different direction. And, you know, I know I take too long with it, but like I think that's the thing is like I would rather have the quality be like so high that people are actually like when something new comes out, they're like, oh no, I gotta listen to this because the last every
Mhm.
single thing has been maybe not like we said, some of them are gonna suck or whatever, but like at least they're like super thought out and like really trying to deliver value for people. Um, so that's something I focus on a lot.
Yeah, dude, and it's totally the name of the game in this climate of the last, where people's attention spans are. It's all they can handle. All people can handle is a single. You know what I
No
mean?
doubt.
It's like if you put an album out, there's exceptions to it, and your diehards, and if you make fans with singles, they're going to want more to listen to anyway. But in terms of the general population, man, I mean, I even think about myself, who's like a lifelong music adorer, someone who's devoted my whole life to it, and even my attention span is fucked now. You know what I
Oh,
mean? It's like
100%
I can't even dig into new stuff like I used to be able to, not even
for sure.
close.
And then
So, but go ahead.
you think about like that's I think also why my manager was wise in telling me not to pre sell stuff or whatever or like, post too much previous about it, before it comes out because like nobody cares. Why, if oh, it's out tomorrow. Well, thanks for wasting my time today. Like
Mhm.
I feel like when someone sees, oh, new music, they want to be able to click and get the new music immediately. Like before that, it's just like everybody's just drinking this fire hose of content constantly, and like, they just can't, like you said, can't consume it all. So you just got to put it right in front of them, click, swipe up, do the thing right there. Okay, follow or not follow or not listen or skip or never check it out again, unfollow, that thing. It's just got to be like so fast. I'm so ADD too, man. Like I can't pay attention to anything. I'm looking at my phone 5 million times a day.
I am. I
We're
the
addicted.
phone thing. The phone thing is crazy because
Yeah.
it's like now it's like I've tried to take a step back, but now I have so much stock on my phone. For me, it's not just like social media. Like I don't think I have much of a. I don't think my mood or my psychology is that affected. I'm sure I'm addicted to it on some level, but for me, it's my fucking email, man, because my email is like the source of, it's like my bank account. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yes.
where's the opportunities coming? Where,
Yes.
and now there's so much more that plays into it, but it's a lot, man. The phone is really
It's a
becoming it.
dopamine,
I just,
man. It's a little
it's
dopamine
crazy.
kick every time you get that little notification or whatever of whatever you're checking, whether it's social media, like you said, email, you know, uh, messages from your friends or other people or news updates or whatever. Like we are trained now, like little doggies with a whistle, to it's pretty nuts.
And now I was just thinking about, because I remember, I remember, I could be wrong about this, but the other thing I check all the time and follow is football stuff. And I
Oh,
think I
me
remember,
too.
didn't you make a post about
Oh,
your love of football and stuff like that?
yeah. My
Yeah,
goal
yeah,
was to, I need to get back in touch with them. But like I played high school football because there was nobody at my high school. So, everybody gets to play. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, like, my goal was to have Keep On Coming, my last single, be like their like get on the field song or whatever, Shit, I
Yeah,
want it to
man.
be the get on the field song for anybody. But yeah, so I did some posts around football, like, Friday Night Lights and all that.
Dude, I'm so glad I remember that, and I'm so glad that you reminded me that aspect of it, because for me personally, that was such a big influence in my early life, was what music did to me. Like I only played, I think 2 or 3. I loved football growing up, but I only played 2 or 3 years. But I was a sports guy growing up, basketball and some other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Music, and I think most athletes, music played such an important role in getting ready for the game. You know what I mean?
No
And
doubt.
what you're saying about that warm up music or whatever, I
Mm-hmm.
was so driven by that. It was such a physical reaction, psychological reaction that but
Thunder, like that kind of shit. You know?
so much of my early music, whether I said it straightforward or not, not early music, all my music is like, I want this to be pump up music. I want this to be
Yes.
pump the shit out of people. It's so funny, man. In high school, they let us make the warm up tape.
Nice.
I mean, we threw some stuff on there that was, I think it was
Like
senior
what?
year. We had White Rabbit on there.
Fuck
I
yeah. There
think
you go.
I think senior year, because we were starting to, and I remember people in the audience going, when White
What?
Rabbit came on, like, what is this, man?
That's
But it has
great.
a good pump up vibe to it, it's
Yeah,
got
no
like
doubt.
X at the end and stuff.
Yep.
But I'm glad I remembered that thing about the football, but what I was getting to earlier is, so what else besides the single do you have kind of planned for yourself in the next 3 to 6 to kind of 8 months, as best as you can,
Yeah,
count
I mean,
on
just
with
a
all the.
bunch of songs that I'm really, into, and I got I'm rehearsing the band on new songs, and got like a live stream I'm doing next, what is it? Next Friday the 13th. Talk about a time to do a performance. So that'll be interesting. The band is going to learn a bunch of new songs for that. And then, yeah, man, just trying to get over my perfectionism and finish things and get new music out. Trying to wrap up an album. We got this EP coming out, or finishing up the 5th song of 5 singles, wrapping it up into an EP, and then just trying to work on new stuff, man. Got songs written. Great. I'm very pleased with like the message, the construction, the vibe, you know, different different aspects, you know, just like painting the picture in a little bit more. But new music, and I'm just like so fucking grateful that we're alive and able to keep creating, you know, because like I think this whole thing has just stripped back so much of the bullshit, you know. So
For sure. And you've got the same dynamic that I do through this thing, in that I believe you just have the wife and the small child at home. So you've
yeah,
been a three piece rocking and rolling through this whole thing, and
and then
that's
two
been, I'm
poodles,
assuming, two poodles. We don't
two
have any
tiny
animals in the
poodles.
house.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah, but your boy is one. Is that what you said?
that's true. Yep. Joe Jr.
Yeah, and that Joe Jr. Nice, and that's going good through all this. You get to spend a lot of time with the family and everything.
Oh man, it's great. Every afternoon I have Joey, so you know we walk on down to the park and he throws crap at the poodles and me, and he slaps me in the face, and he, you know, today he figured out how to splash like extremely effectively out of the bathtub. So just drenching me for 20 minutes, you know. It's life is so good with kids. I
Oh
love them.
yeah, man,
Yeah. How about you?
definitely.
You and your daughter, right?
Yeah, she's 5, so she's, the every kid's different, but I as nice as it is for you now, I remember, the 1, 2, and part of 3 years, as cute as they are, there's a whole lot of extra baggage with that, of course, whether it's the sleep or the cleanups and whatever. But
Yeah.
for me, for our situation personally, when they kind of get to that 4, it's a pretty magical time. It's pretty
Really?
special.
So I have
Oh,
something to
it's
look
just
forward to?
oh, it's unbelievable. It really is. I
Okay,
mean, it's
good.
just so, because their personality just becomes so, it comes out in all ways it never had before. They're talking, they're asking you questions. The cuteness. Me and my wife commented on it many times. Like, the cuteness at 4 is as explosive as it is at 1 or 2, even more so,
Wow.
really, because they're still that really young, but they're just saying all these things. It's like, wow. And
I
they're
cannot wait for that.
you have a lot to look forward to. Um, Thank you so much for this. The last thing I want to ask you about, Joe, is kind of what your thoughts are on kind of the bigger scheme of things. Obviously, the industry is being dealt huge blows right now,
Mhm.
and the industry is used to getting blows, and it's always changing and stuff. But where do you see things on a bigger scale? Both living in a city, I'm sorry, both living in a city like Austin, which is a hub for music and has seen a lot of changes, fast changes happen, but also kind of broader things. Do you have any thoughts on where things are going over the next few years?
Fudge. Yeah. I mean,
You don't have to answer.
I think live music is fucked for until 2022. If not, yeah, probably that just is, unfortunately. I wish it wasn't, you know, but you know, regardless of when a vaccine is found, people are going to have PTSD. You know, if it was hard for us to get pack shows before this whole thing, there's no fucking way people are making money, and you know, it's going to be harder to get people to go to shows. I just think all of the above, right? On live.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Austin is, you know, obviously calls itself the live music capital. It is such a live music city versus, you know, I don't know, like a New York or LA, you know, which is much, or Nashville seems to be much more of a recording and industry city. Our industry here seems to be very live focused, right?
Right.
So that's super unfortunate. Luckily, you know, it's fucking sad, man. I mean, shit, we're gonna lose so many musicians. We're gonna lose tons of venues. You know, there's just no way around all that. Um,
Yeah.
but I Austin is in such a geographically, like geologically interesting, gorgeous place of the world with, you know, so much history and vibe to it. Like it's gonna be back. It's gonna come back. It's just gonna take a minute. So that's Austin. As far as the whole like globe and world, I think every single trend that was happening before this like explosion of work from home and digital over analog increase that happened, this COVID stuff, I think is just accelerating faster. So, personally, I'm focusing on learning how to make shit on my laptop and record myself and, save money in that way, but also like get better at it and more comfortable with that. I think everybody needs to be doing that. Social media, I do not want to do social media. I love every person that's ever listened to my stuff and, sending me positive vibes. My positive vibes that I feel I can best relate are my music. But I'm fucking doing it because guess what? I want to have a career. I know you're doing it because you want to have a career. Every single person has to focus and deliver some sort of value. I don't think I'm good at social media at all, but it's just a necessary evil and all we can do is get better at it. So, everything that was happening, all of the trends are just completely catalyzed faster. We're fucking warping into the future right now. Yeah. So
Yeah,
industry
no, look, I
wise,
agree.
I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's. I mean, I agree with everything about social media. I'm very interested to see how the next few years go because, you know, things have to come to an end at some point. I think a lot of the burnout of social media has been accentuated through this thing, not
Right.
just through the COVID lockdown, but all the election stuff, all the,
No doubt.
I think it's hitting a point where there's going to be some change. I have no idea what comes next or what
There's going to
have
be
you, but
balance. We've kind of just,
balance in the
there's,
force.
yeah, there's huge pendulum swings. Okay. Social media obsessed, like all that stuff. Everybody's realizing how nasty the bad stuff can be. There's got to be ways for us to consume things in a healthy way. Um,
Mhm.
but man, the thing I love about now with music is more creators than ever. The thing that I
Mhm.
hate is it's really hard to get found out, you know,
Mhm.
when, like you said, that usually the cream rises to the top, but not always. And that's the negative of it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, no doubt. No, that's the double-edged sword of it
Mhm.
all. Is we all have this freedom, and then of course, I when you hear how many new songs are uploaded to Spotify
Yeah,
every week, it's insanity.
it is
But
insane.
you're doing good for yourself, man. So keep it up because the
Thank you, brother.
quality is exceptional. I'm looking forward to hearing your new single on Friday and new stuff coming out in the future, and hopefully seeing you live in the not too distant future.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate you reaching out. Everybody meditate, be grateful. This shit is not going to last forever. We only got 80 years if we're lucky.
Amen, brother. Well, thank you,
Yeah.
Dr. Joe. Thank you again.
Thanks,
And
Sam.
you take care of yourself, man.
Adios.
All right. Peace.